Have you ever felt like parts of you have to disappear in order to survive the workplace? Like you're constantly editing, dialing down, or taking a step back. Not because you want to, but because you've learned the hard way that certain parts of you are not safe to show. That constant push and pull that you're experiencing, that's what Professor Saul calls the autistic hide response. And if you're neurodivergent or neurocurious and you're in a neurotypical world, chances are you know it all too well. So let's talk about this, what it is, why it happens, and what we can do about it. Hi, I'm Summer. I'm a keynote speaker and leadership trainer that was late diagnosed with autism and ADHD. I'm also a corporate survivor. I help neurodivergent professionals thrive in workplaces that weren't built for us. I've worked for the Walt Disney Company, HEB, and even a dude ranch. Now, I'm studying my PhD and I'm looking at neurodivergence in the workplace because I believe that organizations need to understand how brains like ours work, lead, and succeed. So, what is the autistic hide response? Now, I've been following Professor Saul. He's on Instagram and TikTok. Highly recommend that you follow him. He's got a lot of phenomenal information. And he states that the autistic hide response is a pattern of advancing and retreating. It's constantly testing the waters to see what parts of ourselves are accepted and what parts of us get labeled as too much, too intense, or too different. We move forward with authenticity as who we are. We share something real and then bam, we get corrected, rejected, or misread, or misunderstood. And so we retreat, we hide, we shrink. Now, this isn't always obvious. It doesn't always look like silence. Sometimes it looks like we're being overly agreeable. We downplay our needs. We stick only to safe topics in conversation. It's not about being fake, it's about survival. Now, this response tends to flare up in very specific moments, such as if we're nervous, we're unsure if we'll be accepted, we're in a new environment, if we're experiencing conflict, when someone reacts negatively to our honesty or our energy, we may immediately take a step back. Or if we're getting feedback, when we're told we're too much, we're too blunt, we're too passionate. If there's ambiguity, such as when the rules are unclear and we're left to try and figure out what is allowed. So an example, when I worked at Disney, I was really passionate about my role. Like I got really upset on Friday and really excited on Mondays. I brought all of my energy, my ideas, and my enthusiasm. And nearly every single time that I received feedback while I was there, it began the same way. Summer, we love your passion. And then it would come the correction, the tone down, the message. And the message that I was receiving was that my excitement, my energy, all of it was somehow a liability. I can remember I had a leader that told me he needed me to be less me. I didn't know what that meant and I didn't know how to do it, but I knew that me as I was showing up was not okay. There was something wrong with it. I quickly learned that passion wasn't a part of me that they wanted. And just like that, I began to hide it. I didn't stop caring, but I stopped showing up how much I cared because I got the impression that I was too much. And that's an impression that I've gotten my entire life. And so when we think about it, you may have experienced this as well. And so you're asking yourself, okay, but what do I do about this? But the thing is, we can't always control our environment, but we can develop awareness and strategies to care for ourselves in the process. Here are a few things that help me, and here are some things that have helped the people that I coach. We can name it without shame. We can just recognize, okay, I'm retreating right now. By that recognition, this can be powerful. It helps us understand that we're not broken. We're simply responding to a learned pattern of risk, and that awareness gives you a choice. You see, there's so much power in having language to describe what it is that we're experiencing. And when we can feel ourselves doing this, we can say, what about this situation is making me feel unsafe? Now, we can also create safe zones. This is the second tip. Create safe zones. Find spaces such as people, meetings, group, where we don't have to retreat. It might only be one person at first, and that's okay. We start there and we build. I have told my husband again and again and again, and I will continue to answer the question, what makes him special? By saying he is the only person, him and my brother are the only two people that have ever made me feel that I was not too much. Find those people that create that space and lean into that. Recognize and see who you are in those spaces. What does that look like? What does that feel like? Now, the third tip is to debrief the retreat. When you do find yourself pulling back, after a moment of pulling back and getting in that space in your head where you're like, okay, this feels safe now, take a few minutes to reflect. What caused you to retreat into that moment? What part of you were you trying to protect? Sometimes having this insight can help us reclaim that part in a future moment. One of the things that I tell people when I'm coaching them is, hey, empathy, compassion, patience, those are not 3 strengths of mine. And so I get in front of it. I tell them what my expectations are. And I also tell them that my skill, my passion, I'm an activator, which that means I get shit done, y'all. And if you're working with me and you're like, we need to slow down, I've given you permission to tell me, hey, this is too much. I need to just slow down. And so when you're thinking about that, when you think about when you retreat, you'll start seeing what those patterns are, and you can introduce those into relationships. Now, the 4th piece is to reclaim in small doses. We don't have to go from hiding to the full-on spotlight.
That's uncomfortable. Not okay with that.
We can reintroduce a little bit of ourselves as we go in. Our voice, our excitement, our opinions. And we can do it in low-stakes setting. This is one of the more challenging parts of getting my diagnosis, is learning that I've been masking for so long, it kind of felt like I lost part of myself in it. And so as I'm regaining myself, who is this person and what does that self look like? And I'm reclaiming it in small doses. I'm not doing it in an overwhelming way. It's just recognizing, okay, this is an area that I'd always mask and I would hide before. I don't want to hide it anymore. So what does that look like? And then finally, the 5th tip, rewrite the narrative. If someone made you feel like you were too much, remember that's their limit, not your flaw. Your passion, your perspective, your way of thinking, it is a strength. I remember the first time I was just so frustrated with being told that I was aggressive at Disney. And I looked at somebody and said, I am not aggressive. Your inability to handle conflict and have a direct conversation is not my downfall. So if you would like to continue this conversation, we can, but I need you to understand what I'm doing is direct and is bold and it is honest and it is uncomfortable, but it is not aggressive. And so when you're thinking about that, we can rewrite the narrative. As I mentioned, I am very direct, very bold, very honest. So that fits for me. If that's not your style, it's okay. You see, the goal isn't to stop hiding by forcing visibility. It's to show up without abandoning yourself. And you are the person that gets to decide what that looks like. The autistic hide response, it's real, it's valid, but it's not the whole story. We may have learned how to retreat, but we can also learn when it's safe to stand tall, what that feels like. We don't have to be everything to everyone. You just have to be you in a way that honors you, honors your nervous system, and your values. Now, if this video resonated with you, stick around. A new video focused on the neurospicy workplace will come out every single Monday. And until then, don't forget, you got this. I'll see you next week.